we have not talked about on this show that is supposed to be dedicated to quarterback play. We have not talked about the best quarterback in the league through the first 11 weeks. And I think part of that is because as so many other quarterbacks in the NFL rise and fall, as their situations change, as we try to figure out how good are they? Is it the players around them? Is it the system? What needs to change? Patrick Mahomes, for the most part, has been a known quantity. He sits in his own tier. He's the best player in the NFL. Ask the anonymous player survey we did in The Athletic today. And so there aren't as many factors with him that seem like they're vacillating, like they're actually in motion. But right now, this particular moment for the Kansas City Chiefs may be a little bit different, maybe a little bit different of a consideration. So when you watch that game last night and you're watching the Chiefs passing game right now, what do you think are the issues that are limiting them right now? Is it just the lack of receiving talent, or do you think it goes beyond that?
No, it's 100% the lack of receiving talent. And it's not even the lack of talent. It's just the lack of plays being made. They have 26 drop passes. They lead the league in drop passes, and no bigger than MVS's that would have put them ahead. And quite honestly, maybe would have won them a game against the two heavyweights of the Eagles and the Chiefs. And you look at even the Justin Watson on 4th and 25. The fact that you have a chance on 4th and 25 to get a completion. I mean, first of all, that was an absolute laser beam. Okay. So,
unbelievable throw. Unbelievable throw.
It was unreal. And they've had two separate 4th and 25s this year that have been dropped. And that says it all. That says it all right there. And look, Mahomes can't do it all. He can't catch it. He can't run the routes. And I just start by going back to like this preseason, right? And when they were hyping up Sky Moore, and I say the Chiefs were hyping up Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney, all their in-house production, the franchise that they had going on. It was like interviews of all these guys saying, hey, we're going to be good. This is going to be good. And then it's just been a complete disaster. And quite honestly, if this continues, like it's going to cost them a chance at another Lombardi, because at the end of the day, you need all 11 people on the field making plays, right? Like I think their run game is pretty dang good. At one point I tweeted last night, I'm like, look down at my phone, and like 5 minutes into the third quarter, they had 153 yards rushing. And I was like, wait, what? Like, where did that come from against a good front in Philadelphia? And then you go and, I mean, it just comes down to the drop. Sometimes when you look at problems on an offense, it can be as easy as it's my receiver group that is literally not making plays. We could be X amount of points better per game if we didn't have those drops. Now, look, you're going to go back last night and you're going to look at the 2 red zone turnovers, right? The fumble by Kelsey, the interception by Mahomes was probably as bad as an interception I've seen, because the guy is wide open. It was a cool little slant and up, and he should have kept it a little bit more over to the left, away from that free safety and Bird and Byard. And it's just like, to me, it's just at the end of the day, like you could tell the press conference that Patrick Mahomes had and how upset and just ticked off he was, but yet has still never to this day thrown any one of his receivers under the bus, which just says a lot about who Mahomes is as a person. But then last night, he's saying, hey, I could have underthrown MVS. Come on, bro. Like, no. Like at the end of the day, there has to be accountability. And right now there is none on that receiver room.
The set of bets that they made last year, it worked out better than they ever could have hoped. You trade Tyreek Hill, you use those resources to restock your defense. And listen, even if the results have been bad from the receiver group, that bet that they made, that has worked. They won a Super Bowl, and their defense is a top 5 unit. It's playing at a ridiculous clip. So I still feel like the overall plan has worked out the way that they wanted to. But even last year when they had a guy like Juju Smith-Schuster to lean on, they don't even have that sort of presence within the offense. After moving on from Tyreek Hill, this was the most efficient offense in football. Patrick Mahomes was the clear-cut MVP. It wasn't even a conversation. Right now, he is 7th in EPA per dropback. I know that seems fine. It is fine. But for him, that's really immortal. This is just a different version of this offense than we're used to seeing. So I'm curious, just as somebody who's been in that offense, who understands it, who understands Andy Reid, how is the wide receiver position and the asks on it maybe a little bit different within that system than it might be in some other offenses? Because there really have never been many examples of young rookie receivers specifically catching on there. And they've got a lot of youth in that group and in that room. How do you feel like that maybe affects this team and this offense, maybe in a way that it does in other systems?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely affects with this offense, and you look at MVS, he's the guy that is the one who's the veteran, right? Everyone else is pretty young, and within this offense, there are normal asks of receivers like, hey, you got to know the formations. We shift and we motion quite a bit, but at the end of the day, they're running the same concepts for the most part, like that they've run in training camp. So they have a set in that offense of 20 to 30 concepts, whether it be drop back three. So you do drop back, right? 3-step, 5-step, 7-step. And then they go movement game, which are your shot plays. And then you have naked play action games. And then you have RPOs. Of course, there's what Andy Reid likes to call green dots, or added plays to the game plan to take advantage of like what Philly was playing or how they were playing a certain coverage. And they're new plays. You have to learn those. But he has a system where, hey, you can only have 15 green dots for the entire new game plan. So there's only 15 new plays per instance per game plan. And people think that's crazy, but it promotes the type of stuff that is not happening right now with the Chiefs receivers. They should be knowing exactly what they're doing. And I don't think it's actually going down to the matter of the fact where they don't know what they're doing. It's just that it looks to me that they're not playing really fast. And it's not the type of confidence that a Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce have, the connection that they have. And so that to me is the deeper issue, is them not playing fast. Look, they trust each other, but at the end of the day, when Patrick Mahomes and the game is on the line and you're double teaming Kelce and you're going to Justin Watson, like nothing against Justin Watson, but like, come on, like to me, it's a higher bit of organizational, I wouldn't say failure because they've won a lot of championships, obviously, and they've been in 5 straight AFC championship games, will probably be a 6th. But the fact that you can't get 1 or 2 veteran guys for $10 million or less to come in and really solidify that room, they were okay with going with this room going forward. And that to me is the bigger part of what I think of an organizational, like, hey, mishap here. You really missed it on this receiver room.
The bets that they made on defense have worked out in every single instance, right? Going and getting a Trent McDuffie as part of that trade for Tyreek Hill. He looks like a superstar. George Karlaftis has really come on this year. Everything on defense has fallen into place as part of this overall plan. Everything on offense hasn't. If you look at the bets and the swings that they've made at the receiver position, a 2nd-round pick on Sky Moore last year, trading a 3rd-round pick for Kadarius Toney, drafting Rashee Rice this year. Rice may come on, but he hasn't come on fast enough to offset the lack of production you've gotten from the guys that you acquired last year. And that just leaves them without any consistent, reliable options in that room right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing. And I tweeted out last night, though, that I do think Rashee Rice has a chance to be special. All the talent in the world. And the thing is, it's not even about him not going out there and doing it. He just didn't get a lot of chances last night. And that's the thing with these rookie receivers, especially if you draft them and hope to groom them to be in this offense for a long time, with Mahomes for a long time. You got to get out there and give them opportunities. So he wasn't on the field a lot last night, which was a little bit surprising. It looked like they went over with Watson over Rashee Rice on a couple different things. And Sky Moore has been just sort of obsolete. And same with Kadarius Toney. They use him in different ways in the backfield. He had some good punt returns. But it's just, it doesn't seem like they have that one true weapon. If you actually take away Travis Kelce, which is actually hard to do, and he's been hurt, and so it makes it a lot easier. But if you do that, then I just don't know who Mahomes finds as a viable number 2 option, because MVS was rolling last night on that should have been go ahead touchdown, and great route, great play design, great throw. Okay, 3 of the things that you need. No catch. Like, you got to finish it. You have all 3 things working in your favor: concept, design, throw, and then drop. Like, you can't design it any better than that. And these opportunities for these type of plays don't come around very often. And it seems more often than not, when the big time plays are needed to be made, even the 4th and 25, they're not making them.
You know Andy Reid. You've been in that building. If we see flashes of talent with Rashee Rice, but the opportunities aren't there. How do you explain that disconnect? Is there something that's happening in practice that maybe we can't understand because we're not seeing it?
No, I don't, that's a great question, and honestly, something that they got to look at themselves in the eyes and in the mirror and just figure out like what the heck is going on, because it can't continue this way. There has to be, like, I guarantee you, Mahomes. I know for a fact that Mahomes stays after with these guys and throws after practice. Right? It's not that it's just. And it seems like they're running the right routes. It's just like at the end of the day, it's as easy as you just have to catch the football. Like I think a lot of people are just literally looking too far into this, and not us because we like to dive deep, but some other people. There's something like, go get on the jugs and catch 100 balls. Like when you look at the drops, like 26 drops are just drops. I don't think it's a lack of concentration. I don't think it's a lack of not knowing what to do. It's a lack of your skill set not being there and dropping ball. I mean, bottom line. And I saw, Tyreek Hill came to MVS's defense like, hey, those bright lights under the stadium, it's not as easy as it looks. Like, cool, but like that's a game on the line, number 1 seed on the line, which the Chiefs are no longer. The Baltimore Ravens are. Like, stuff like this matters in big time situations. You're the Chiefs. You're going to be in these big games more often than not. So I don't like to look at it from that point of view. Like, I just think at the end of the day, it's just skill. Like, go get on the jugs 100 times, catch 100 balls.
In terms of problem solving, if things are not going right, if you're hitting snags as an offense, and you've been in some weird Andy Reid offenses, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't 2018 Chiefs when you were there. The offense was
No.
very efficient, but it had to be creative in the ways that they found solutions. Very famously, they did not throw a touchdown pass to a wide receiver for the entire season. And this was a team that was good. This was a good football team that was dealing with this. So how would you characterize the way that Andy Reid seeks out solutions to unconventional problems compared to some of the other coaches that you've been around?
I think the best thing, or I know the best thing that I like about Andy Reid is he never overanalyzes situations. And sometimes you can see this around the league when things aren't going right. It's not like they're broken as an offense because they're top 10 in almost every major category. It's just those drops. The biggest thing about Andy is he just like, hey, just get back to work. Just get back to work. Like, he's always saying that. Just get back to work. Like, just go to work. Just work on your craft. Be you. Show your personality. And then eventually, if Andy thinks that he has a certain receiver that's going to make a play over a certain guy, then he's going to call a play for that guy, right? Like, but I've never really seen Andy ever do something so out of the blue and extraordinary that a lot of times coaches can think, hey, something's not working. We need drastic changes. Well, there's one little part of your offense. No, it's a big part that isn't working, and it's the receivers dropping. Okay. First of all, you have to instill confidence in them. That's the biggest thing for me is like, hey, if a receiver dropped the ball, especially, and I remember this one story, it was practice. It was 2013, Andy Reid's first year there. And I was throwing to some receivers, and I'll always remember this because it sort of molded who I am as a player. We went up and we were like in OTAs, or maybe it was like early training camp. And this receiver, I don't even know his name. He didn't make the squad. I don't even remember because it was so long ago. I remember throwing a ball to him, like a hitch route or a slant route, and the ball just dropped. Like, he just dropped the ball. Like, it was a perfect throw, dropped the ball. And I just went on to my next thing and just kept going. And it was routes on air. And Andy comes up to me quietly after practice and was like, hey, that ball that, that guy dropped, like, why don't you get with him after practice? Like, why don't you like get into his ear? Like, tell him you're going to get it. And if you do it again and he drops it, get that rep again right away. And I'm like, wow, okay. Because like when he speaks, it's like that old grandpa that you really respect and that trust, but you don't want him.
That's why
off
when he
or
went
make
after
mad.
Travis Kelce yesterday on the sideline, that
Yo,
look that he gave him,
nuts.
I was like, oh man, he is clearly not happy.
It's not only the look he gave him, but he said, Kelce.
Yeah.
Kelce. And then he said, Travis. And when he called him by his first name, I'm like,
it is like your dad yelling at you. Like, that's exactly the feeling that it was on the sideline yesterday.
Yes, it was wild. And that's the thing too. It's like, it's just, he's got that like dad that you respect, but fear, but in a good way. Like, you don't want to let down. And I think that's the best thing about Andy Reid as a head coach. He doesn't overcomplicate things. He he oversimplifies things, which is great. It's what you want and allows guys to play fast. And eventually he's like, through 11 games, he's like, okay, we're eventually going to like break out of this like slump of dropping passes, but it has not happened yet at all.
Well, something to monitor because obviously it's holding them back right now in terms of the offense they can be and the heights that we've seen them reach in the past. But they've spent a lot of resources, not crazy resources. We're not talking about first round picks or top 10 picks, but they've taken plenty of swings at receiver. And we'll see if any of those can materialize a little more than they have throughout the rest of this season.